Welcome to the Optimists Always Win Forum. You are about to embark on the journey where we learn how to move from defeat to life's C-suite. Your host today is award-winning speaker, stage 4 cancer survivor, and renowned diversity trainer, Kimberly S. Reed.
So let's talk about another question, thought, from chapter 6, and it's called Unlocking Your Y.E.S. This is one of my favorites. You empower self-factor. If you want to be a person that empowers others to live their best lives, and all of you display that, it starts with you living your best life, right? Everything starts with us. We cannot serve from an empty cup. We know that. You have to become your best self before you can help others. And that's what all of you do in some way, shape, or form. Have you unlocked your yes to become the person you've dreamed of becoming? And then given that back to others? So I'm going to ask Irfan, please.
No, happy. In fact, it's a very interesting eliminator, as you're calling it in your book, number 6. But if I take a step back, when I was reading this book, if you take a step back and draw concentric circles all around all of your 10 eliminators, right? Mm-hmm. And if you look at, I love the name Kryptonite, Superman being my favorite hero, so I could completely connect the dots, what to do with it. And then, of course, how do you, your C-suite of your life you talked about how do you heal your soul, you talked about, and I'm drawing circles as I talk to you, right? And then you talk about how gratitude, which you, Lorraine, you mentioned it so well, and Janine, you added it. Faith, willing to give, to be a chameleon, right? Just to make sure you're sensitive to people. And then, of course, looking at the rear view and, how do you elevate your life suites? But if you do all those circles and you look at the core in the middle, which is concentric, which they're all overlapping, that is your point number 6 in terms of how do you make sure that you're able to really empower yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that is where 2020, as Benny, you'd mentioned that it is interesting that the year 2020 gave time for people to see these circles sometime in isolation. And if you're lucky, we could put them together and saying, oh my God, if we can get all these pieces right, we start focusing on what it means is who are we, right? And just the word I would say is the person or the human behind the person, right? And I think that's happened to me too. I mean, I was a guy who would travel 2 million miles a year. I was living in suitcases. Suddenly, and these circles would appear to me, but just the way I was brought up, that this is important. But to put the circles together and then start looking at yourself, saying that actually it is all about empowering yourself. You cannot empower yourself unless those circles are together. Mm-hmm. And some of us are fortunate that in midlife or early life, the best of the people, most fortunate is, I would say, in the order of being fortunate, if your kids can actually learn those circles early in their life, mm-hmm. instead of just focusing on getting 4.4 GPA.
Yes.
They could focus on that, but unfortunately, the society doesn't have it right. And we don't train kids on that, right? There is no curriculum to do that, right? Mm-hmm. There is no curriculum to teach the kids how to be humble,
right?
Or how to thank people. There's nothing, right? Yeah. If you're lucky, your parents teach you. Mm-hmm. And if you're lucky, circumstances teach you early. Otherwise, you remain unlucky. That's the fact of life. So if we can actually learn those things earlier on, I think it allows us to actually empower yourself. It's just about feeling comfortable with yourself. And if you could do it, then you can really impact other people. You cannot, every time you meet people, and in my career of a couple of decades, you meet different kind of people. But fortunately, we were trained to really look at the human behind the person. When I look at somebody who's little elderly, whether he works for me or not, whether does anything, in my mind, he's somebody's dad. Yeah. Somebody looks up to him in the house, mm-hmm. a daughter who loves him to death, mm-hmm. a wife who adores him. And that changes the way you look at people.
Ah, yes.
it's a different world from the capitalistic society, but that's the true world. And your point number 6 is so important to make sure how do we empower yourself. But you can't do it unless those circles come in place. So that's my 2 cents on how I see it.
That is definitely more than 2 cents. That is amazing.